Now, if you're stuck on those problems that look like they're missing a variable, something like x equals 2 or y equals 0, here's what I want to do. I want to first consider if you're given that these are linear equations, so you're expecting them to be in the form ax plus by equals c. Let's just see if we can force them to be in that form. So here's my x. A is 1, right? So 1x plus, there's no y, but if I can say 0y, because 0 times y is 0, and then you don't have to write it. And then equals 2. So this equation, x equals 2, and this equation are exactly the same. All right, so now let's look at this one, y equals 0. If I put this equation in the form ax plus by equals c, there's no x, so it would be 0x plus 1y equals 0. All right, so now with this information, I should still be able to graph these equations. This one's a little bit easier. I'm going to just manipulate this 0x instead of just like letting it disappear. I'm going to subtract 0x from both sides, and now I've got y equals 0x plus 0. So now if I think of this in y-intercept form, what's my slope? The slope is 0, and in this case, my y-intercept is also 0. It's 0, 0. So now I can go ahead and graph this line. We draw in my x-axis and my y-axis. Here's x, here's y. Now, first graphing my y-intercept, that's here at the origin, 0, 0. And I could think of my slope as being like 0, any whole number, you can put it over 1. This is like 0 over 1. So up 0, no, over 1. So I'm just going over 1 to graph my next point. So this is what a slope 0 line looks like. It's just a horizontal line. So this one I'm going to call y equals 0 is a horizontal line. And it's down here at height 0, because the y coordinate's always 0. Okay, now let's do the same thing over here with x equals 2. Let me try and solve for y and see what I get. Y equals, I'll subtract x from both sides, so negative x plus 2. That's 0y, sorry. 0y equals negative x plus 2. And then when we try and solve for y, you're going to want to divide by 0, right? Except you can't, because division by 0 it's not a valid mathematical operation to do. So you're not really allowed to do that. So if we were to do this, you'd have that the slope would be like negative 1 over 0. Your slope would be undefined. The slope is like, it's non-existent. So let's try and graph this thing, thinking logically about what the graph will look like. Okay, here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis. Okay, well, x is equal to 2. So the x-coordinate of every point on this line is always 2. So here is x is 2, y is 0. And you can plot another point on this line. Like, here's another point with x-coordinate 2. Here x is 2, y is 2. Let's plot another point on this line, like down here. This point, the x-coordinate is 2, the y-coordinate is 1, 2, 3, negative 3. These are all points whose x-coordinate is 2. So now you can connect these points by a line, and now this line represents all points in the plane where x is equal to 2. So now here we have a vertical line. Some things to notice: vertical lines have equation x equals number. Horizontal lines have equations y equals number. Vertical lines have undefined slope. Horizontal lines have slope equal to 0.